You see, life doesn't change when your circumstances change, it changes when you do. The richest person can feel empty, and the poorest can feel grateful. The strongest can feel broken, and the weakest can rise with purpose. Transformation isn't about doing more, it's about becoming more. And today, I want to share with you the 4 things that, if you truly understand and live by them, will not just make your life better, they will make your life beautiful. Gratitude changes your vision. When you start to live with a grateful heart, your entire world begins to shift. You see, my friends, it's not happiness that makes us grateful. It's gratitude that makes us happy. Most people spend their entire lives waiting for the perfect moment to feel thankful. They say, when I get that job, when I buy that car, when I find that person, then I'll be grateful. But that's not how life works. Gratitude isn't something that follows success. Gratitude creates success. Imagine waking up every morning and instead of checking your phone, you check your heart. You take a moment and say, I'm grateful I'm still breathing. I'm grateful I have food on my plate. I'm grateful I have someone who loves me. I'm grateful I've been given another day to make things right. It doesn't matter how small those things seem, because gratitude turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. A grateful person doesn't see what's missing, they see what's already there. And that changes everything, because what you focus on expands. If you focus on problems, your problems grow. But if you focus on blessings, your blessings multiply. Gratitude is like a lens. It doesn't change the scenery, it changes the way you see the scenery. The same sunset looks more beautiful when your heart is thankful. The same meal tastes richer. The same people feel more precious. Think about this. The richest person on earth without gratitude will always feel poor, and the poorest person with gratitude will always feel rich. Because gratitude doesn't depend on your bank balance, it depends on your mindset. Sometimes we forget to be thankful for the simplest things. Our health, our family, our senses, even the struggles that make us stronger. We wait for life to be perfect before we start appreciating it. But the truth is, gratitude doesn't need perfection, it just needs awareness. There's a saying, what if you woke up tomorrow with only the things you thanked God for today? Imagine that. Wouldn't we start thanking for even the tiniest details of our lives? Gratitude teaches us humility. It reminds us that nothing is guaranteed. Every breath, every smile, every sunrise is a gift we didn't earn, but were blessed with. And when gratitude enters your heart, complaints quietly leave. You stop comparing your life to others. You stop asking, why me? And start saying, thank you. You begin to notice beauty in brokenness, lessons in pain, and growth in loss. You realize that even the challenges you face carry hidden blessings, opportunities to become wiser, stronger, kinder. So, if you truly want to change your life forever, start by saying, thank you. Not just when things go right, but especially when they don't. Because gratitude in good times is appreciation, but gratitude in tough times, that's transformation. The secret is simple. When your heart is grateful, your life becomes graceful. Forgiveness frees your soul. We often think forgiveness is about the other person. The one who hurt us, betrayed us, broke our trust. We imagine that by forgiving them, we're letting them off the hook, that somehow they're getting away with what they did. But the truth, my friends, is far deeper. Forgiveness isn't something you do for them. It's something you do for yourself. Because when you don't forgive, you're not chaining them, you're chaining And every time you hold on to anger, resentment, or bitterness, you carry that person in your heart even when they're not around. You replay the scene, the words, the moment, over and over again, like a movie that never ends. And slowly, without realizing it, that pain becomes your identity. You wake up with it, sleep with it, talk about it, and it begins to define how you see the world. Forgiveness is about cutting that chain. It's about saying, I refuse to let my past pain poison my present peace. Forgiveness doesn't mean you forget what happened. It doesn't mean you pretend it didn't hurt. It means you stop allowing it to control you. It means you choose peace over punishment. You see, when you don't forgive, you drink the poison hoping the other person will suffer. But you're the one who slowly burns inside. Your mind stays occupied by what should have been instead of what can be. Sometimes people say, but they don't deserve forgiveness. And maybe that's true. But forgiveness isn't about what they deserve. It's about what you deserve. You deserve to be free. You deserve to move on. You deserve to stop carrying the weight of someone else's mistake. Holding on to anger is like holding a burning coal. The longer you hold it, the more it burns you. When you forgive, something magical happens. Your heart becomes lighter. You start to breathe again. You feel the space that pain once occupied begin to fill with peace. It's not instant, it's a process. Some wounds are deep, but each act of letting go is like removing one stone from the wall around your heart. And slowly, light starts to enter again. Think of forgiveness as emotional healing. Just like a physical wound, it needs care and time. You don't ignore it. You tend to it. You acknowledge the hurt, you feel it, you learn from it, and then you release it. Because your soul wasn't made to carry endless anger. It was made to love, to grow, to experience peace. Sometimes, forgiveness doesn't come in one moment. You might forgive someone 100 times before it finally feels real. And that's okay. Forgiveness isn't a switch, it's a journey. Each time you let go, you take one step closer to freedom. And here's something powerful: forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. You can forgive and still choose distance. You can forgive and still protect your peace. The act of forgiveness happens within you, not in the relationship, not in the apology you never got, but in your own heart where healing begins. When you let go of anger, you create room for peace. When you release resentment, you open the door for joy. Forgiveness doesn't change the past, but it changes your future. It stops your story from being defined by what happened and allows it to be shaped by what's possible. And in the end, forgiveness is not weakness. It's the ultimate strength. Because it takes courage to say, you hurt me, but I choose not to let that hurt define me. It takes strength to look at the person who broke you and still say, I will not let your actions destroy my peace. The moment you forgive, you stop being the victim of your story and start becoming the author of your healing. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start realizing, maybe it happened for me, to teach me, to strengthen me, to prepare me for something greater. So, if you truly want to change your life forever, forgive. Not because they asked, not because they earned it, but because you are ready to live free. Because forgiveness doesn't just heal relationships, it heals souls. Discipline builds your destiny. Everyone wants success, everyone wants happiness, everyone wants peace, but very few are willing to pay the price. And that price, my friends, is discipline. Discipline is the bridge between your goals and your reality. It's the quiet force that turns your intentions into actions, your dreams into results, your desires into destiny. People often think motivation is what drives success, but motivation is like a spark. It burns bright for a moment and fades. Discipline, however, is the steady flame that keeps burning even when the spark is gone. There will be days you won't feel like doing it. Days when you're tired, uninspired, discouraged. Days when your mind whispers, just skip it today. It won't matter. But those are the exact moments that define you. Because discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. It's showing up when no one is watching. It's saying no to what's easy and yes to what's right. Think about the most successful, the most peaceful, the most fulfilled people in the world. They aren't necessarily the most talented. They are the most consistent. Talent gives you potential, but discipline gives you progress. You can have all the talent in the world, but without discipline, it dies unused. A seed only grows when it's watered every day, not once in a while. Discipline is not punishment, it's an act of love. When you discipline yourself, you're saying, I care about my future self. I care enough to make sacrifices now so I can live better later. You're not restricting your freedom, you're creating it. Because when you don't have discipline, your impulses control you. But when you have discipline, you control your impulses. And that is real freedom. There's a simple truth. If you don't rule your mind will rule you. The brain loves comfort. It seeks shortcuts. It craves ease. But growth never happens in comfort. The moment you step outside what's easy, you step into what's possible. Every great musician, athlete, monk, or leader you admire got there not by luck, but by discipline. By doing the same small, boring things day after day until they became great. Discipline builds habits, and habits build character, and character shapes destiny. What you do occasionally will never change your life. What you do consistently will. Think of water, soft and gentle, yet it can cut through rock. Not because of its power, but because of its consistency. When you start practicing discipline, people may not notice. There's no applause for waking up early, no medals for saying no to distractions, no audience for hours of quiet hard work. But one day, when your results speak, everyone will call you lucky. They won't see the discipline, they'll only see the success it created. Discipline is not about being hard on yourself. It's about honoring your commitments. It's keeping promises you made to yourself long after the mood in which you made them has faded. It's waking up for your morning walk even when it rains, studying when your friends are scrolling their phones, meditating when your mind wants noise. These small acts don't just build your habits, they build you. The truth is, discipline is spiritual because it teaches patience, humility, and endurance. It trains your mind to focus on the long term rather than the instant. It teaches you the joy of delayed gratification, the sweetness of earning something rather than being handed it. And when you live a disciplined life, you realize that real happiness doesn't come from indulgence. It comes from alignment, from knowing you're doing what's right even when it's hard. So start small, wake up 10 minutes earlier, eat with awareness, speak with kindness, do your work with honesty. Because discipline isn't built in grand gestures, it's built in small, consistent choices. Each time you honor your word, you strengthen your self-respect. Each time you follow through, you become stronger than the excuses that once ruled you. And one day, you look back and realize every small act of discipline shaped the person you became. Every sacrifice was worth it. Because discipline doesn't just change what you achieve, it changes who you are. It molds your character, it refines your soul, it builds your destiny. So remember, you can't control your future in one day, but you can control your day, and your days control your future. Stay consistent, stay patient, stay disciplined. Because motivation starts your journey, but discipline makes sure you arrive. Compassion connects you deeply in a world that's constantly rushing, competing, and comparing. Compassion has become one of the rarest yet most powerful qualities a human being can possess. Compassion isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the ability to look beyond what someone did and see why they did it. It's the understanding that every person you meet, no matter how cold, rude, or distant, is carrying something heavy you cannot see. And when you begin to see people through that lens, everything about the way you live changes. We are so quick to judge, so quick to react. Someone cuts us off in traffic and we get angry. A friend doesn't reply to a message and we take it personally. A coworker snaps at us and we assume they're disrespectful. But compassion whispers, pause. Maybe they're struggling. Maybe they're hurting. Maybe this isn't about you at all. Compassion creates that pause, that sacred space between reaction and understanding, where love has the chance to step in. True compassion isn't just about feeling sorry for someone, it's about feeling with them. It's walking into another person's pain, not to fix it, but to simply say, "You're not alone." Sometimes, the greatest gift we can give isn't advice or money or even solutions, it's presence, just being there, listening, holding space, letting someone know they are seen, they are heard, they are valued. When you live with compassion, your relationships deepen. You stop expecting people to be perfect. You stop trying to win every argument, and instead, you start trying to understand. Because understanding connects hearts, while judgment builds walls. Compassion teaches you that kindness doesn't need to be earned, it needs to be given freely. Because love loses its power the moment it becomes conditional. And it's not just compassion for others, it's compassion for yourself. How often do we forgive others but not ourselves? How often do we speak gently to others but cruelly to our own hearts? Self-compassion is where true healing begins. It's looking at your own flaws, your own mistakes, and saying, "I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still worthy." When you are compassionate with yourself, you naturally become more compassionate with everyone else. Because how you treat yourself shapes how you treat the world. There's a beautiful paradox. When you practice compassion, it doesn't just help others, it heals you. Science even shows that compassionate people experience less anxiety, lower stress, and greater joy. Why? Because compassion opens your heart, and an open heart is a peaceful heart. When you care for others, you stop obsessing over your own problems. You begin to realize that giving is not losing, it's gaining meaning. Think of how different the world would look if everyone practiced just a little more compassion. If before judging someone's actions we asked, what pain could they be hiding? If before speaking harsh words, we remembered how it feels to be misunderstood. Compassion softens the hardest hearts and bridges the widest gaps. It turns strangers into friends and conflict into understanding. And sometimes compassion means giving when it's not easy. It means being kind when it's not returned. It means choosing empathy when your ego wants revenge. It's remembering that you don't have to understand someone completely to treat them kindly. Because compassion isn't about agreeing, it's about accepting. But don't mistake compassion for being passive. Compassion doesn't mean you let people walk over you or ignore boundaries. True compassion has strength. It says, I see your pain, I understand your actions, but I won't allow them to harm me or others. It's the balance of love and wisdom, soft heart, strong spine. And here's something profound: compassion is contagious. When you show it, others feel it, and they begin to pass it on. One kind act ripples through dozens of lives you may never even know. A smile to a stranger, a kind word to a friend, patience with a child. These small acts might seem insignificant, but they can change someone's entire day, maybe even their life. Every great spiritual teacher, every wise leader, every peaceful soul has spoken about compassion because it's the language of the heart. It transcends religion, race, culture, and status. Compassion is what reminds us that beneath all our differences, we are one human family, one shared experience, one longing for love and understanding. So when someone is unkind, be compassionate. When someone disappoints you, be compassionate. When you're tempted to judge, pause and be compassionate. Not because they always deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Compassion doesn't just connect you to others, it connects you to life itself. It connects you to something divine, something pure, something eternal. And one day, when you look back on your life, you'll realize that the moments that truly mattered weren't the ones where you won the argument or proved someone wrong. They were the moments where you chose to love instead of hate, to understand instead of judge, to care instead of turn away. Because compassion, my friends, is not just an emotion, it's a way of being. And when you live with compassion, you don't just change someone's day, you change your own soul. Purpose gives life power. You see, a human being can live without many things, without wealth, without recognition, even without comfort, but not without purpose. Purpose is what gives meaning to your breath, direction to your steps, and fire to your soul. It's the invisible force that keeps you moving when everything else around you says, stop. Without purpose, life feels like running in circles, busy but going nowhere. With purpose, even the smallest task becomes sacred, even the toughest struggle becomes meaningful. Most people exist, but they don't live. They wake up, go to work, earn money, buy things, and repeat. But deep down, they feel a quiet emptiness. That emptiness is not from lack of success, it's from lack of significance. Purpose is what fills that void. It answers the question, why am I here? When you know your why, every how becomes possible. Purpose doesn't always arrive with lightning and applause. It often whispers in moments of silence, through the things that move your heart deeply. It's in what makes you lose track of time, what you could do even if no one paid you, what makes you feel alive and aligned. It's not always a big mission. Sometimes it's found in small acts of love, service, and presence. People often say, I don't know my purpose. But your purpose isn't something you find in a book or a course. It's something you remember. It's already inside you, waiting for your awareness. It's written in the things that break your heart, the dreams that won't let you sleep, and the values you refuse to compromise on. Life's journey isn't about discovering who you are. It's about remembering why you are. When you live with purpose, life becomes less about what you achieve and more about what you have contribute. You stop chasing success, and success starts following you. You stop comparing your path to others because you finally realize everyone has a different calling. Some are meant to heal, some to teach, some to create, some to lead, and some to love quietly in the background. Purpose doesn't need to be loud, it just needs to be true. And here's something powerful. Purpose gives pain a reason. Without purpose, pain feels unfair. But with purpose, pain becomes a teacher. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every delay starts making sense. You begin to see how every closed door was guiding you toward the right one. You start to say, "This didn't happen to me, it happened for me." Purpose transforms suffering into strength and confusion into clarity. When you wake up each day knowing why you're doing what you're doing, even the most ordinary day feels extraordinary. You stop living for weekends because your life itself becomes meaningful. You begin to find joy not just in results, but in the process. You realize that it's not the destination that matters most. It's who you become along the way. Living with purpose doesn't mean you'll never feel lost. It means even when you do, you know which direction to walk. Your purpose becomes your compass. When life gets dark, it becomes your light. When people doubt you, it becomes your certainty. When you fail, it becomes your reason to rise again. Purpose also brings peace. Because once you know your path, you stop trying to walk everyone else's. You stop competing for approval. You stop being pulled by noise. Purpose simplifies life. It filters out the unnecessary. You begin to say no to distractions that don't align with your soul. You start protecting your energy, your time, your focus, not out of ego, but out of clarity. And here's the beauty. Your purpose doesn't have to be grand to be great. You don't need a stage, a title, or fame to live meaningfully. You can fulfill your purpose in the way you raise a child, the way you treat people, the way you bring hope to someone in pain. Purpose is not about scale, it's about sincerity. What matters is not how many people you reach, but how deeply you touch even one. So ask yourself, what makes me come alive? What would I do if I weren't afraid? What would I regret not doing at the end of my life? Those questions lead you to your purpose. And when you find it, protect it, nurture it, serve it every single day. Because purpose isn't something you visit occasionally, it's something you live. You see, the greatest tragedy is not death. It's living a life without meaning. A life that's comfortable but empty. A life that's full of things but void of purpose. But the moment you awaken to why you're here, life becomes electric. Every morning feels sacred. Every action feels aligned. You start to walk lighter, speak softer, love deeper. Because now, you're not just surviving, you're serving. Your purpose gives life power. Because it connects you to something bigger than yourself. And when you live for something greater than your comfort, your strength multiplies. The obstacles that once scared you become stepping stones. The struggles that once drained you become training for your soul. You stop asking, "What do I want from life?" and start asking, "What does life want from me?" So, find that reason, not in your mind, but in your heart. Let it guide your choices, shape your priorities, and fill your days with meaning. Because when you live with purpose, you don't just live longer, you live deeper. And in the end, it's not the number of years that count, it's the depth of the life you lived. Silence heals the mind. In a world that never stops talking, silence has become a forgotten art. Everywhere we go, there's noise, the constant hum of traffic, the buzz of notifications, the chatter of opinions, the endless rush of thoughts inside our own heads. We are surrounded by sound, yet starving for stillness. And what most people don't realize is that silence isn't emptiness, it's medicine. It's the space where the mind resets, where clarity is born, where the soul begins to speak. We've mistaken silence for boredom. We've been taught that to be productive, we must always be busy. That if we're not doing something, we're wasting time. But silence isn't doing nothing. It's doing the deepest work there is. It's the act of returning home to yourself. When you sit in silence, you start to hear what you've been running from. The noise outside fades, and the noise inside becomes clear. Your fears, your dreams, your truths. That's why so many people avoid silence, because it reveals what distraction hides. Think about it. When was the last time you truly sat without your phone, without music, without words, just with yourself? For many, it's uncomfortable. The mind fidgets, it searches for stimulation. But if you stay with it long enough, a shift happens, the restlessness softens, the thoughts slow down. And what remains is something sacred, peace. A peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. A peace that was always there beneath the surface, waiting to be noticed. Silence doesn't mean the absence of sound. It means the presence of awareness. It's not about shutting the world out. It's about tuning into something deeper. When you close your eyes and breathe, you begin to notice the rhythm of life itself. The heartbeat, the breath, the stillness between sounds. That's where truth lives. That's where intuition whispers. That's where wisdom begins. When the mind is noisy, it can't listen. It reacts, it rushes, it judges. But when the mind becomes silent, it starts to see things as they are, without distortion, without fear, without ego. Silence brings clarity. It's like muddy water settling after a storm. When you stop stirring it, it becomes clear again. And when your mind becomes clear, even the biggest problems start to shrink. You stop overthinking, you stop overanalyzing, and you begin to understand. Many of the greatest thinkers, saints, and leaders in history spent time in silence. Not because they wanted to escape life, but because they wanted to connect to it more deeply. They understood that wisdom doesn't come from constant talking, it comes from deep listening. Listening to your thoughts, your heart, your intuition, and the quiet voice of life itself. Silence teaches patience. In silence, you learn that not every question needs an instant answer. Not every emotion needs a reaction. Not every situation needs control. Sometimes the best thing you can do is pause, because silence allows time for truth to unfold. And often, when we stop forcing answers, the right ones gently reveal themselves. But silence isn't only found in meditation or solitude. You can find it in nature. In the stillness of the early morning, in the soft hum of the wind through trees, in the rhythm of waves touching the shore. Nature is a constant reminder that silence is not empty. It's alive. The trees grow without noise. The sun rises without announcement. The universe moves in perfect harmony without needing to speak. Silence is also powerful in relationships. When you learn to listen instead of always respond, you start to understand people beyond their words. You hear their emotions, their pain, their longing. Sometimes your silence can be more comforting than 1,000 sentences. Because silence says, I'm here. I understand. You don't have to explain. But perhaps the most healing silence is the one you create as inside. That inner quiet where you stop judging yourself, where you stop replaying the past and predicting the future, where you simply rest in the present, in this breath, in this moment. When you find that silence, anxiety fades, creativity flows, and your connection to life deepens. The world today rewards noise. We glorify opinions, debates, arguments, and constant activity. But true strength lies in restraint. It takes courage to be quiet when everyone else is shouting. It takes wisdom to listen when everyone else is speaking. It takes power to walk away from chaos and choose peace. Silence doesn't make you weak. It makes you aware. And here's the paradox. When you spend time in silence, your words become more powerful because they come from clarity, not confusion, from depth, not impulse. A few words spoken from a silent mind can heal more than hours of noise. So take moments each day to unplug, to breathe, to be still. Start with just a few minutes. No music, no distractions, just you and your breath. You'll begin to notice that silence isn't scary anymore. It becomes your refuge, your recharge, your reminder that peace was never lost. It was just buried beneath the noise. Silence heals the mind because it reconnects you to yourself. It reminds you that you are not your thoughts, not your stress, not your past. You are the awareness beneath it all. And in that awareness, everything becomes clear. So, sit in silence not to escape the world, but to return to it stronger, calmer, wiser. Because when your mind is silent, your heart speaks. And when your heart speaks, life finally starts to make sense.